Very excited for this one. This episode is something that I do not have that much experience in, and so I wanted to bring the two people who I thought could shed the most light on this. Welcome back to another episode of Sneak Speak. This is episode 7. Today's date is July 29th, 2020. Once again, I'm Mateo, and from the M&M team, I'm here with Manib. Manib, say what's up.
What's up, guys?
And another member from the M&M team, but new to the podcast, never been on. I'm super excited for him to finally be here with us, is Matthew Shiau. Matthew, say what's up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Since you've never been on this podcast, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Matthew. I'm 19. I'm rising sophomore in college. I go to Northeastern in Boston. In terms of school, I'm studying finance. I went to high school with Manib and Mateo, and actually Max too. We have interacted in the resale world a little bit with each other. Manib and Mateo doing most of the reselling, and me, I kind of just saw the potential in the resale game, and I thought the culture too was just super interesting, so I wanted to get involved. But I don't necessarily do as much of the reselling. I just kind of there to provide capital for some bigger deals and stuff like that.
So
yeah.
Matt helps us out a lot with that stuff. He's really good for if we ask him for advice on investing. Like we said, he doesn't do a lot of the physical selling, but I think you were once upon a time in the sneaker game too. You were a little flipping shoes here and there, right? But Matt has kind of moved on to the bigger world of stocks. He's started a YouTube channel that has just blown up. It started around the same time as mine. How many subscribers? I have 60 subscribers. How many do you have?
As of today, I have about 39,000.
30?
Wow.
Wasn't it? All right, I'm this dude. I thought, dude, I was expecting you to say 18,000 or something. It's been what?
Bro,
4
I
months?
thought you had 3,000 or 4,000. I did not know you had that many.
How fast? How long did it? And then watch this. How long did it take you to monetize your channel?
It took me about a month.
This dude, and from then on, he's just been booming. I highly suggest anybody listening to this, when you're done listening to this podcast, go watch his videos. I am not into stocks at all. I want to get into it, but I really know nothing about it. And watching Matt's, usually you watch videos on the stock market and everything, and you get super confused. I know nothing about the stock market, and I watch Matt's videos and I'm super engaged. Not just because it's Matt, but because it makes what he says is making sense to me, which I really appreciate. So
Thank you,
keep
bro.
it up. We're all super proud
Appreciate
of you.
it.
Our special guest today is not from the M&M team. I've been talking to him for a while. We went to the same high school, but we didn't really start talking until we had both graduated. A little more experienced in the long-term investing in the sneaker culture and sneaker market. So I'm really excited to have him on today. Max, say what's up.
Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Max. I'm a rising junior at UC Berkeley studying economics and data science. Just like these guys, I got into reselling back in high school. One of my close buddies showed me like Jordans during lunch one day, and I was like, "Well, this is super sick. I want a pair." But then I basically went to my parents and asked them for a pair of Jordans, but there's no way they're gonna spend $200 on a pair of shoes for me. So that's when I picked up reselling, and I realized there's a lot of money to be made in this market. So I kind of dabbled on reselling here and there in high school. I'm sure you guys can relate to this, but basically just waking up at 8 a.m., hopping on Supreme's website or Foot Locker or Nike or whatever it may be, and just trying to test my luck. And then fast forward to college, I was still trying to continue reselling because that's what I really love to do. But with college, you get a lot of extracurriculars and classes and homework and stuff like that. So you don't really have the time to do so. So that's when I kind of decided to lay off of it for a bit. But then StockX came around, and StockX became super popular. And I was looking at their app one day, and I was like, "Yo, look at some of these price trends. Like sneakers, if you can hold on to them, and they'll go up in value over time." So that's when I thought of truer investing as a concept, and that's how my business started. So basically, I run a business called the Hype Advisor. What we do, and I can get into this later, but what we do is basically we're aiming to democratize access to this investment opportunity. We see streetwear investing as an underlying opportunity. When you think of investing, you think of what Matt's doing. You think of stocks, you think of bonds, you think of real estate. But we see sneakers as just as viable of an investment, if not better. So that's how the Hype Advisor came to be. So yeah, it's a little bit about myself.
I remember when I first started to talk to you more, you were doing a podcast with the Hype Advisor as well.
Yeah, so basically the podcast was a little idea that one me and one of my business partners had. Basically, we wanted to share our viewpoints on the market from an investor perspective. But since because of quarantine, I haven't been able to meet up with my friend, so we've kind of been putting on a momentary pause. But yeah, we're definitely like looking to release more episodes in the future.
Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to those episodes. They were a little more digestible, like about half the time is this one, and it was super organized, and you guys had some great things to say, and I really enjoyed hearing those, and I'm waiting for the next episode. So
Appreciate that.
keep that
Yeah.
up. And then you were talking to me about something about opening up your Hype Advisor program or something coming soon, right? I don't know if you want to talk
Yeah, I
about
can.
that for a
Yeah,
second.
I can plug that now.
Yeah.
So basically, starting on Saturday, August 1st, we'll be launching our second investment round for the Hive Fund. Um, Basically, what the Hive Fund is a way for you to invest in the streamer market with just a minimum investment amount of $100. Our process is super simple. Just to give you a basic rundown, what we do is we pull together money from our clients, invest it in sneakers at a resale price that we feel like will go up in value over time. And once the 9-month investment period ends, we'll be selling all of the sneakers and distributing the profits back to our investors. Our process is also very transparent, which is a huge part of what we value at the Hype Advisor. We just implemented a new feature. Basically, investors can log on to their account at any given time and monitor the investments that we are making for them. Not only will we display information such as the sizes of the sneakers that we bought or the price that we bought it in at, but most importantly, we show or we explain the reasoning behind each investment. So not only are you able to profit off the market, but you're also able to educate yourself and learn along the journey with us. So yeah, we're going to be opening up this batch this coming Saturday, and it'll be open for a week. If you have any questions, feel free to email our email at team@thehypeadvisor.com, or you can check out our website on thehypeadvisor.com, and we'll be opening up an investment inquiry form on August 1st for you to sign up.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's a very like professional way to handle reselling, I think. And watching Matt's face as you explain that, I think he's very supportive of that.
Yeah. No, that is. I mean, I've also thought about the resale game as like a long term investing thing, and I never really either spent enough time or really figured out like how to democratize it, how to turn it more into like a stock market kind of deal. And I think what you just described is a perfect layout to let people get in with like a minimal starting amount that still makes it worthwhile. And I think the idea of pooling the money so you can make like lump sum purchases and
Exactly.
giving the reasons behind them is really awesome. So that sounds fantastic.
And
Yeah,
I
if I were to
love
put
yeah,
it,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. Yeah, if I were to put it into like stock market terms, I think you can kind of view this as like a hedge fund, but instead of operating the stock market, we purchase sneakers as assets, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that puts it more into perspective. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, being a sneakerhead, being a sneaker reseller, I like this just seems more interesting to me than the stock market. But that's just me being like super young and super naive. But this sounds like what you're doing sounds like so much fun to be a part of. Hopefully this episode will come out either later today or tomorrow. So
Perfect.
hopefully in time for you to release your August 1st batch.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I was gonna ask real quick. The last batch, how much did the $100 investment make for people investing?
Yeah,
Good
so
question.
I can tell you this. So I'll put it in ROI perspective, so it's a little bit easier. We collected 5 figures in assets. I can't disclose the exact amount, but I can tell you we got 5 figures in capital from investors, and our absolute return was 11%, and our net return for our investors was 7.13% to be exact. That was across a 6-month time period. To put into perspective as how the stock market performed in that period of time, the Dow Jones went down 9 point, I don't know the exact number, but around -9%. So we were able to outperform the stock market in that aspect. And as you guys know, the coronavirus took a major hit on the stock market, but it did take a hit on the sneaker market as well. And you guys can check out our website as to how we created a little sneaker index. Just like the S&P 500 is the index of stocks. We created a sneaker index, and basically it demonstrated clearly that sneakers are a lot more resilient to things like the recession. I mean, not the recession, the pandemic, which is something you can't control. So yeah.
I thought those like little blogs and informational the research that you guys provide. I think that's super, super hard to find nowadays. Not a lot of people are looking into it in such a, what do you call it? Like, they're just not diving into it as deep.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you guys doing it is one thing out of the many things that is separating yourselves from everybody else.
Thank you.
So today's episode is pretty much going to continue this conversation. We're just going to be talking about holds and the long-term investing side of reselling. Not so much the, camping in line, trying to make a quick flip and taking that money and keep moving. Some might say that the quick selling method is definitely the way to go. Others would argue that the long-term method is the way to go. And obviously Max agrees with the long-term method. I'm
100%.
curious to know though, you did resell before, so you were doing more of a quick flip, maybe a short-term hold kind of thing. What was the kind of eureka moment? What was the epiphany that you had that was like, I should just be sticking with the long-term holds?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say the biggest thing is time, right? Like, so reselling, you wake up at, or like short-term flips, you wake up at like 7, 8 a.m. with the potential to make money, right? You're not guaranteed anything. It's kind of very luck-based, to be honest, unless you have bots, or that's a completely different story, right? But investing is based on your understanding of the market. Acquiring the product itself is not the hardest thing to do anymore, because you can just buy off StockX, or you can buy off resale platforms, and there's so many out there where you're able to acquire these sneakers. But when you're investing for long term, you think about the factors that drive the resale price of a sneaker up, whether it be the size, the color, the collaborator, the list just goes on, stock number, right? And to me, this is a lot more interesting to explore. And not only that, it's much more relatable to someone like me, because stocks and stuff, I can't relate with that very well. Like balance sheets, company balance sheets, like things like that, that's not really relatable to me. But what I can relate to is how streetwear cultures intertwine with so many other different cultures, like hip hop, like fashion, and that's what makes me curious to learn more about the market. So that's when I realized that, I was like, oh shoot, I should I should switch over from holding short term to just trying to understand more about the market, but also long term, holding long term.
Yeah. For me personally, I'm trying, like, I haven't really done much of the long-term holding, and I'm trying to get more into that, but I'm also trying to like diversify what I'm doing with all my inventory. So have a little bit of quick flips, have a little bit of longer holds, because I also value the connections that I'm making through the quick flips. Because if I'm doing long-term holds, I'm gonna have to wait a while to like meet a new customer or whatever. But I have a lot of people who are like who wait for me to like drop new stuff, because through me selling to them multiple times, we've become friends, and it's like cool. But if I'm like holding all my stuff, there's no inventory to buy off me, and there's no connections to keep being made. But it's arguable to say that like if you make a quick flip, you can take that money and reinvest it and make more than what you would make in the 6 months. But then you could also argue that you're not really doing any work when you're holding. Like you do a lot of work to buy it, and then you just sit on it, and you can just chillax. So
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it though, right? You're making income passively. You're not spending time managing inventory, shipping out boxes, logging on at 7 a.m. trying to get these sneakers, but you're making the money work for you, right? That's like the beauty of investing. So
yeah.
that's why I value holding on to sneakers. I can totally understand your perspective, trying to make a quick buck here and there and testing your luck, and obviously you make a lot more money short term if you do short term flips, right? But if you're trying to make money or make the money work for you, that's when long term holding comes into play.
Matt, what would you, being more of the expert on the stock market, at least out of the four of us for sure, what would you say in terms of like day trading, but as opposed to long term holding?
Yeah, for sure. So that's actually exactly what I was thinking about as you and Max were having your conversation. I was trying to like draw some parallels between that and the stock market, and I think what he said is that really like resonated with me is like, when you're waking up at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. for those drops, he said you have the potential to make money. And I think that's the same thing with like day trading, right? Like you do wake up. I mean, if you're on the West Coast, you wake up at like 6:30 a.m. when the market opens, because the first hour of the market open is the most volatile. That's where you're going to get the most opportunity as a day trader. But if you really don't know what you're doing, or unless you've been doing it for years, 95% of day traders lose money when they try it. And not only that, it can ruin your day. If you walk away, you have a red day, you lose some money. It can kind of take over the rest of your day because you're starting right in the morning. And I think with long-term investing, I personally have tried both. I lost a pretty good amount of money like doing short-term trading. I also made a lot, but in the end I lost a lot. And I can honestly say that long-term is so much better for not only peace of mind, but like lifestyle. I think, yeah, you can hit some big wins short-term, and that's great, but they're usually few and far between. And long-term, you get to enjoy like and spend time doing other things because you just put up the upfront work, make that good investment, make that sound investment, and the returns might not be insane all at once, but you get the rest of your day, you get the rest of those like future months. And I'll just finish by saying, like the best investors, Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, like these guys are legends. They say like 99% of investing is doing nothing. You just have to put up that 1% of work in the beginning, and then let your work pay off for you. So definitely agree. That short term, if you see something, I mean, why not go for it? But I think for longevity, I think long term is the way to go.
Yeah.
A question for Max. So you said you buy more off the resale market. So are you not running any bots, not running anything for retail?
Nope.
So you go on and then you're buying for resale. What is your go-to? Do you use Instagram the most or StockX, Grail? What do you usually buy off to get the best prices?
Yeah. So basically, to answer your question, nope, we don't use bots. That's also the beauty of it, right? We're not relying on luck in any sort of way. We tend to avoid resale platforms like StockX and Goat just because of their enormous fees. We want to make sure we're buying these sneakers at the best price possible. So honestly speaking, if you're paying StockX and Goat prices, you're paying over the market value. So what we do is our team has very well established Instagram connections with pretty big resellers. To mention one of them, I'm not sure if you guys know Oscar Souls on Instagram. We bought a lot of product off of him for our previous batch, but these guys are able to get the sneakers that we need at a price that is what we believe to be the true market value of the sneaker.
Yeah. Max has come through us a couple of times, and we'll do. I mean, it's not that hard. Like, we'll just do some of the sourcing for him. Like, if I see something on Instagram, I'll just send it his way. Like, why not help somebody else out who's trying to make it? Like, they make a quick flip, they make a quick buck, and Max puts the money in their pocket, and he's paying really good. He's not trying to lowball them so he can make another quick flip off of a quick flip. That just is inefficient. I'm sure you, like, I don't know if you, like if you can get something for retail, like, of course you're going to do that and, widen your margins a little bit, but it's like he doesn't have to stress, like Max doesn't have to stress trying to cop everything at retail because he's going to have to worry about flipping it in the next week. Like, if he doesn't get it for retail, that cuts into his profits by a little bit, but the money is in the long term. It's in the waiting game, right?
Exactly. It's a waiting game.
Yeah. I do want to know, when you do come to us like that, you often ask me to try to find you GS sizes, grade school sizes. So in Nike's terms, that's anything 7 or below. Sometimes the 7 overlaps, but as long as it's got a Y on the box label, 6Y, 6.5Y, that seems to be what you're going for. I'm curious to know why you and a lot of other people have started to, in terms of holding, you're going after the grade school sizes, not the men's.
Yeah. So I think sizing is a really interesting component of investing in shoes because it's a huge deal, right? Like a size 12 versus like a size 6Y can have a completely different price, even though they're the same exact sneaker, just in a different size, right? So I've been particularly sizing honestly just goes with what's hot right now, what's in trend, right? What like basically when you're investing in a shoe, you're banking off the fact that somebody in the future will pay a premium price more than what you paid for, right? So you want to always invest in shoes. Number one is to always invest in shoes that have a high demand, and you're confident that this demand will continue in the next, let's say, 6 months, whenever you're trying to get rid of the sneaker, right? So the reason why specifically GS sizes right now is because of the trend that's going on with TikTok. So TikTok right now, like a lot of people are posting about Jordan 1s, especially females. They're posting about Jordan 1s, and that's honestly driving the price of these sneakers up. Hashtag Jordan 1, hashtag like all those hashtags, they're super popular on TikTok right now, and there's a lot of awareness around Jordan 1s among females, and even more than men's sizes. So if you look at, let's say, Obsidian 1s on StockX, for example, the GS sizes are worth more than even the men's sizes, despite the fact that GS sizes have a lower retail than the men's sizes. So I would say like sizing in general, you just got to look at like what's in trend right now, like what do people want, and those are the sizes that will stand the test of time and have demand in the future.
Bro, you have no idea how many DMs I've gotten on like Obsidian ones and like Blue Chill ones recently, especially from
Yeah,
girls, and they have no idea what they're worth. Like they expect me to
exactly,
find it for
exactly.
them. They see the retail price and like, oh, can you find these? Like I'm willing to pay 150. I'm like, you gotta pay like 450 for those right now, and like that's
Right.
not up to me. Like I'm not gonna be able to find you that for that price.
Bro. My and same thing for me, like you, Mateo. Like I have so many girls from college, my friends from college, friends from high school, even friends from middle school that I'm not like close with anymore. That know I still um like resell, and I like Jordans and sneakers. No, I've liked them my whole life, so they kind of kept up with it. But so many reaching out to me asking. Obsidians are the ones also that I've been asked. Like probably like 5 of my girl cousins have asked me like, "Can you give me Obsidians?" I'm like, dude, like they're hella expensive now. You're not gonna want to pay this much for them. And I'm like, where'd you guys find about them? And like you said, Max, like TikTok. They literally like, some girls bring on TikTok. They're so cute. And I'm like, bro, first don't call Jordan's cute. It's like, it's not how it works. But also, like, I mean, I can look, but you're not gonna want to pay that much for them. And I know personally, I bought like 3 pairs of Obsidians, and after also, I think what added to it was The Last Dance, the Jordan documentary that
Yeah.
increased them. After I bought 3 pairs of them, and the price is just going through the roof right now, and then just keep going up. It's like so, yeah, it's just crazy to me. Like you said, like app like TikTok and that media platform is able just to increase the price of these Jordans like tremendously, especially the colors that these girls like.
Yeah, no, 1,000,000%. And I just wanted to add on to about the Last Dance MJ documentary. You guys can see if you look at like the OG colorways, like the colorways that people are always hot right now, like bread 11s, bread 4s, bread 1s, they shot up in price right after documentary released. StockX released a whole section on their website, which basically you can click on it and you can see all the sneakers worn in the documentary. So I know for a fact, just like you brought up, like the MG documentary had a huge effect on the resale prices as well.
To go off what Max said, I remember when I was watching like this first episode, second episode, I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but I told Mason, I was like, we have to buy like a pair of flu games or like something, because when they released the episode on the flu game, that one's gonna go up. He bought like a used pair for like 190 or something, but he made like $130 off of it in like 2 weeks because the price had shot up on StockX like $120 also. So the used market had gone up as well. But what we've been talking about like the trends like TikTok and what kind of drives the market, I've sort of realized through talking to Max and like through other people too, I've realized that the way that the stock market, or not the stock market, the sneaker stock market like grows and gains popularity and the prices go up and down, it's very, very simple and reasonable on like why people are going to buy shoes. With the stock market, you're investing in the company because you believe that they're going to do well, and like you're doing research on why you think that their value will go up. But for a lot of times for shoes, it's like back to school seasons is coming up. So a lot of people are going to be buying shoes for their kids. So the grade school sizes are going to go up. Or like Christmas is coming up. The Last Dance documentary highlighted these shoes. So these shoes are going to gain more attention. More people are going to buy them. Prices are going to go up. You know, collaborators always do the same thing. So like certain colors, like Royal Toes, Pine Greens, and Core Purple ones were all very popular Jordan ones. In my personal opinion, I believe that the Royal Toe shot up before the other ones purely because blue is a more wearable color than green or purple. In the same fashion, the grade school ones have done really well also. But I just want to ask Matt, like Matt does a lot of research into these companies. Like he has to do a lot of research into these companies before he invests in them.
Yeah. So I think, like you said, it's a different way of looking at an investment in the shoe game versus the stock market. The stock market, you have a lot more like tangible data. Like you have quarterly reports, annual reports, you have earnings results, and you have like, a lot of technical analysis. I'm not really sure if that's relevant in like shoe prices and stuff. And then with the shoe game, you have more like, okay, how do people think? I feel like it's more cerebral and more psychological. But it also, of course, has to do a lot with the trends. And I think that for stocks, it's a lot less exciting when you do that kind of research. And I think it requires more like, okay, let's sit down and put this work in. For a resale, I think it requires, at least from what you guys have said, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it requires a lot more observation and just having a good pulse and touch on the community. Like for example, the TikTok trends, I wouldn't even know how to start like looking for that or like observing that. But if you told me like, oh, here, go read this like annual report, then I could be like, okay, this is what you need to look at. So I think I have to really respect anyone who can spot those trends early on, because that means like you always have to be ahead of the curve. Whereas with investing, I think it's more of a level playing field because everyone has the same data. It's just, are you willing to put in the work to understand it? So I think that's the main difference for me.
Yeah, so it's really interesting you brought up technical analysis of sneakers because that's what at the Hypervisor we're trying to, I guess, partake in. So we recently launched, I wouldn't say a service, but just we've basically been putting up research reports of sneakers on our website and basically trying to introduce a more quantitative aspect to sneakers. So one example project that we just completed was basically looking at the total number of bids versus asks on shoes. And in our minds, bids represents the current demand of the sneaker at the current price, and ask represents the supply of the sneaker, right? So looking at that and
Mm-hmm.
basically inferring what does that mean about its potential, its future short-term potential as well as long-term potential. And we've been able to basically examine a lot of interesting trends there, and you guys can check it out on our website. So yeah, we're trying to introduce more of a quantitative because everything I just talked about with TikTok and MJ documentary, that's all qualitative, right? But we're trying to get a
Right.
more holistic perspective of these shoes and take advantage of the data that's out there, more specifically on StockX and GOAT, and trying to factor that into our investment strategy as well. And we're obviously going to be doing this in our next batch opening next Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart move by you guys, because I feel like with stocks you can look at charts, and technical analysis is really only works in stocks because everyone follows the same thing. Like technical analysis only works because everyone believes in it. Whereas with shoes, I feel like there's no like, okay, here's the trend line, here's the support and resistance. So I think the fact that you're trying to find that data and take advantage of it, I think again you guys are ahead of the curve. I think maybe even if I don't know if you guys have looked into this, but I'm sure there must be some sort of support and resistance for shoes because, like, just psychologically, like people think, okay, this is the least I'm willing to pay, and this is the most I'm willing to pay for this shoe.
Yeah.
But yeah, very
I think
interesting.
there is like a slight aspect to quantitative data in terms of the reselling market, but I think a lot of that has to come before the release date. So if you're able to find like stock numbers and find out like how rare a shoe is, or like sometimes certain stores won't release it. There's only like 2 or 3 stores in the entire US that are going to release it. If you didn't know that, then you wouldn't really be willing to pay. Like if you knew that it's super rare and hard to get, you're going to pay more. After it releases, it's a lot of like, actually, like from a consumer's perspective, it's like, how much do I actually like the shoe? Like how it looks, the materials, the story behind it, the collaborator, what the shoe means. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think you bring up an interesting point about like this total stock being released and also like restocks. So in the stock market, a comparison would be like the total number of shares outstanding, like total number of shares on the market. One example is Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, holding company. They have never added more shares or split their stock really. So one share of that company is almost $300,000 for literally one share. But then there are other companies that I don't want to get too into it, like financially, but basically they just give out more shares to raise money for the company. And in the resale game, that would be like restocking kind of, and that dilutes the price. That actually decreases the price. So I think there's another comparison there that's pretty interesting.
I love how these two markets are like so similar. They're just different terms for everything, but it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
And to add to it, I think something that like at least when I started reselling was the hardest is to see what the market price was. I think something that actually really helped out was these resale services such as StockX and GOAT, because they give you like the highest price that someone will probably pay for it. And cause before it was like Stadium Goods and like Flight Club, but those are like outrageous prices. But now it's like I think StockX and GOAT kind of give you. In StockX, I love the market. You can see the trend of like literally like a stock, how the shoe's going up. But they give you like that's like the max someone will spend, and you can see what the profit you're gonna make. So say the max is 300, you're gonna make 280. You know that you could sell that shoe for 270 or 280 and below to make that much money back, and people are willing to spend. For them it's less than 300, but you're still making more profit. You find the in between and whatnot. So I think like apps like that actually really helped, even though they have so I'm not so sure the word for it, but they kind of ruin the market a lot with sneakers. and taking a lot of money away from the resellers. But I think in the long term, it actually helped a lot and giving a lot of knowledge to people actually getting into the game as well.
Yeah, and when it comes to like buying into StockX and Go, like Max says, you got to stay away from that to avoid the fees. I'm sure I'm gonna assume that you've bought off StockX and Go before, like kind of as a last resort, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, StockX and Go is my go-to last resort. If I'm
Yeah,
not able to find the sneaker anywhere else, but I still think it's an amazing investment, then I'm
yeah,
willing to spend the extra $10, $20 now to make $100 in the future. In the grand scheme of things, yes, my ROI is going to be a little bit lower, but it's still worth putting my money into it.
yeah,
Usually, StockX used to be way better than it was now. They increased their fees. What, it's like
yeah,
13% now, I think. It was like 9, 10 at one point. And like back when it was back then, that was like buying off there was like not that bad, and selling on there wasn't that bad. But now it's like outrageous. It's like you're really losing so much like potential money.
Matt is reminding me that he has to head out soon, which I was aware of, but I want to give him a chance to like give any last thoughts on this stuff. I know like for the stock market, it's pretty like, I don't know, like are there differences between platforms to like buy stocks?
So in terms of platforms, there's definitely different platforms. Recently, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Robinhood. It's kind of like the stockbroker for millennials and Gen Zs, and it kind of gained popularity because it had zero commission fees, meaning like when you make a trade, you don't have to pay your broker anything. But nowadays, pretty much all the major U.S. brokers have zero brokerage fees after Robinhood came out with that. So I really don't think there's a huge difference. Personally, I like to go with the more like the older guys like Schwab and Fidelity, just because I think they're a little safer. Robinhood has had a couple outages here and there, like meaning you couldn't make any trades, and that I know that costs a lot of people a lot of money. There are some good ones like Webull, very powerful tool. And then like I guess last thoughts on comparing the stocks to long-term investing. I think a lot of what Max said today was super interesting. He finally kind of put it into words what I've been trying to figure out in like how to invest long term in shoes. I think it's definitely something people should think more about because investing in general is something I feel like it's kind of like a life hack that not a lot of people really acknowledge or take enough time to think about and utilize. And I think long-term investing in shoes is a perfect segue from maybe your passion into like stock market investing because
Yes.
you never know that might spark an interest and not to be dramatic but change your life. So I appreciate Max coming on, sharing what he's doing. Appreciate you Matteo and Manib for taking me onto the podcast. Really enjoy the conversation.
Yeah. So before you head out, and the three of us can continue this, but before you head out, go ahead and plug your YouTube, your Instagrams.
Yeah, for sure. So my YouTube is just Matthew Huo. So it's MATTHEW and then HUO. And then the Instagram for my YouTube is just Matthew.Huo. So same thing with a period in the middle. So that's it.
Go watch all his videos. If you guys want, like, I swear to God, they're so interesting. They're funny too. They're funny.
Thank you.
This dude is of a different breed. Like watching him come out with like pumping out videos like every 2-3 days, all the information that he has, all the research that he puts into it. Like he puts a lot of time into this. So I'm sure he would appreciate it. I would appreciate it if you go check him out. If you guys are trying to get into the stock market, try to make that segue from the sneaker market to the stock market. He does a really good job of getting to all his DMs. I'm sure he gets millions. He probably has some codes for you guys, get you guys started with your first I don't even know what to call it. Shares for get a couple free shares, right? Yeah. But yeah, make sure to go hit him up, hit him for any questions, give him a follow, all that.
If you go to any of my videos, there's a link in the description. If you want to start investing, there's an app called Webull. If you just deposit $100, you get 2 free stocks. So pretty cool deal. Nice. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yep. We enjoyed having you here.
Yeah, really, really enjoyed it. Appreciate it. See you guys around. Peace.
See you, Matt.
See you, Matt.
What was it? Max. So getting back to the there was a question I had about the grade school sizing that I forgot to mention. So one thing that me and Mason had noticed is that if you are to invest into the grade school, like grade school sizing instead of men's at retail, you're automatically paying what, like $40-$50 less, especially after fees. And if both of them, if people are investing into men's sizes as well, both of those size ranges are going to increase in the market over time. But would you say that investing in grade school also gives you an opportunity to invest less money and get the same return? So like if both the men's sizing and the grade school sizing both go up in value like $100, but you're spending $50 less in the grade school to get the same return. Like, do you see that, or is it only like, is that a rarity?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to investing, right, it's all about being smart with the money that you have, right? So sure, men's sizes and GS sizes both go up in time, but if you look at like StockX trends, you can see that the GS sizes fetches a higher ROI or return on investment, right? So it's all about like yes, you can invest in men's sizes and maybe make a couple bucks here and there, but I think GS sizes have a ton more potential, and with the TikTok trend and the MJ documentary trend, there's really like I don't think the Obsidian ones they've slowed down in growth, but they're still going up, right? And they've already exceeded men's sizes. So as of right now, if you were to invest in Jordan ones, I would recommend putting your money into GS.
Along that same line, if somebody listening to this is looking to do what we're doing, taking our advice, taking your advice, and wants to invest in a grade school Jordan 1, which colorway would you advise that they go for? Also considering where the market is currently.
Yeah, so at the moment, I've been having my eyes on the smoke rays. I know I bought a pair through off of offer a person through you, Mateo. But the smoke rays at the moment are settling around 230, 240. If you're lucky, you can get it for 220. I see it being a $300 plus shoe in the next coming months. The smoke ray, I've watched a ton of YouTube videos on people reviewing the sneaker. They seem to like it. It's a wearable colorway. It's nice quality, all that good stuff, everything you would expect in a Jordan 1. If you look at the other Jordan 1 GS sizes, let's look at pine greens and look at royal toes, core purples, which are the releases before the smoke rays. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the case. But they're all currently hovering around $290, $300, so I don't see why the smoke rays would not do the same. Um, so yeah, I would say smoke rays. And number two, Jordan 1 mids are making a comeback. You guys can take a look at any single Jordan 1 mid, and their prices have been shooting up. I'm personally holding on to the shattered backboard still, and I'm also holding on a ton of pairs of Chicago toe mids. I think just because same reason for the MJ documentary, those have been shooting up in price, and it's if you think about it from a consumer perspective, it's just a more affordable version of the Jordan 1 High. Let's say you have like $200 in your bank
Exactly.
account, you're not looking to spend like that much for a Jordan 1 High, but you still want the Jordan 1. I think the Jordan 1 Mid is a great alternative, and same goes for the lows. So you should pay
Yeah,
attention to
I would agree.
literally any wearable Jordan 1 colorway there is. Um,
Yes.
I don't want to say they're all solid investments, but
Yeah. I would especially agree with the shattered backboard example because Manib has brought up his shattered backboards in the past. We know how much the 1.0s and 2.0s go for, like well over 800, 900, even $1,000 for some sizes.
yeah,
The 3.0s are more of a recent release. I think came out in October and November. So they're still on the
they're
rise
doing
though.
well.
They've gone up.
They're still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like 400, 450 now.
Yeah. So
At
there's,
least like the lowest.
yeah, even the low tops, like, I mean, the low tops don't grow as much as the high tops, but I mean, the low tops, it didn't take them that long to sell out. So I don't see, like you said, I don't see why, from a consumer, like, why would you not want to save all that money and get a mid top that's like a centimeter shorter?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
if you just want, if you
Yeah.
just like it for the style and you just want to rock that orange and black, then like, why not? So I agree with everything Max has to say. Also, every time Max gives me like little advice or like what he tells me about what he's holding, he's never been wrong. So up until this point, I have not been disappointed by his investment decisions. So I still have all my trust in him.
Appreciate that.
So let's talk about the mids. Let's talk about the sleepers and the good investments. I didn't talk about this. We haven't talked about like sleepers and good investments in a while. So we have a perfect person to talk about that today. One of the sleepers that might be a sleeper, the Igloo and Pink Rust or Rust Pink mids. Those ones were like really rare ones that came out. Like the high tops are pretty rare and they're saying like $800, $900 if you know what I'm talking about. But the mids have room. There's rumored to come out with mids, and I'm wondering what you think on those.
To be honest, I haven't taken a look at these mids, but just based off of what you're saying, like I think like it's not as easy as you think in terms of like, oh, it's a mid, it's a nice colorway, I'm gonna buy into it, right? It also comes down
Yeah,
to how these were released, how often they're restocked. So, for example, the shadow backmore mids, which is something I'm a lot more familiar with, right? So the shadow backmore mids, they've restocked so many times when it was the period when it was for me to buy into. So it would go up in price and it would go back down in price, and then up and down, up and down, up and down, just because of these continuous restocks on foot sites, right? But once they stop restocking, once there's not an influx of supply in the market, but demand is still there because the shadow backboards, like you guys said, is a very desirable colorway. Then that's when goes up, because it's just like economics, right? It's just like supply is decreasing, but demand stays the same or it's increasing. So what does that do? That drives the resale price up, right? So I don't want to give off the impression that true investing is as simple as, oh, it's a Jordan 1, it's a nice colorway, people like it, I'm gonna buy into it. There's a lot more that goes into it, right? There's like stock numbers is a huge thing, right? Historical releases of similar colorways. That's a huge part of what I do. And I always want to look at what is a similar sneaker that released in the past. How has that performed? And does this translate even to this upcoming release, right? Release method, is it through raffles? How exclusive was it? um, Watching YouTube videos, looking at what influencers think of the sneaker, how much they are marketing it themselves. What's social media attention looking like? Am I looking through like, I look at Cop Clock and see like, oh, how many comments and how many likes did they get under their post for this specific sneaker, right? So like, there's a ton of things that go into investing in sneakers. And we've spent so much time as a team, my team, the Hypervisor, we spent a lot of time refining our investment strategy. And that's why we decided to release the batch now, is because we felt like we've learned so much about the market, and it was the right time to re-release another batch, and we feel very confident we can bring in investors and even hit an ROI more than what we got last time.
On top of that, all the research that you guys are putting in, I wanted to talk about, I think I put up 6 different shoes that I was debating on putting under good investments, and I let you pick your top 3. The top 3 that you said you want to talk about were the Yeezy 350 Zions, the Concord Bread 11 Lows, and the upcoming release of the Satin Red Jordan 1s. So let's start with the Zions. So what is catching your eye about the Zions?
So the Zions, to me, number one, it's a 350, right? You guys know the insane hype on 350s. If you look at, I would say 80% of the price trends for 350s, they've all risen to $400 plus. So I've always had a lot of confidence in Yeezy and what he does. His brand is not dying down anytime soon. I would say it's just as popular or even more popular than Jordans. I would say Jordan 1s and Yeezy 350s are the most popular sneakers at the moment. So that's where most of my attention is focused on. The Zions, I watch a ton of YouTube videos, and a lot of people are saying this is the best 350 colorway to come out in a while. I mean, you can take a look at the sneaker. It's a very unique sneaker, right? There's no other colorway out there like it. I think Kanye has a tendency to sometimes release shoes that are very similar to each other, but this is a one of a kind, right? No other sneaker looks like this. Resale prices right now are fluctuating around 330, 340. I personally believe that they're overvalued at the moment. But in my eyes, they're a $400 sneakers. So I just hit up Mateo earlier this morning, and I wanted to purchase some sneakers for myself to hold on to these. So yeah, I see a ton of potential. If you do the math, $400, you buy them in at, let's say, like 320, you're making about 20%. Yeah, 20% ROI, which is very solid.
And how long do you think that return will come in?
I think Yeezys have a really fast turnaround rate, so I would say around 3 to 4 months. I would say they're a quicker turnaround rate compared to Jordan 1s, which is another reason why I'm a huge fan of investing in 350s.
It's very interesting because at one point we said that there were like the Yeezy hype on the 350s was dying, but I also think that since then the colorways have gotten a little bit better. I still appreciate the old colorways with like the SPLY on the side.
Right.
Um, and they've done the whole thing with like they've come out with the reflectives, the translucent like little stripe on the side, changing up the colors of the bottoms and like the materials and like all this stuff. But it's interesting that this one is starting to have so much attention for its colorway as opposed to its previous colorways.
Right.
To add to that real quick, first off, something that when I first look at the sneaker, it reminds me of is like similar to a turtle dove kind of
Yes.
colorway. You know, it's not just pure black, it's not just pure white. It's kind of got a mixture, and this one actually throws in gray now too as well, which I think black, white, gray shoes, you know, like having like 2 to 3 of those colors in a shoe, it just makes it so easy to wear because all white shoes sometimes you don't want to wear with like a super like, you know, depending on the outfits. So I think this one can go with almost every outfit. It goes with every colorway. So that's I think another reason why. But to a question for you, Max. So you said they're going for 330, 340 on resale sites. So would you say is that the fair price, or what's your when you look at a price like that? What's your buy-in price? What's your like lowest just or the highest you spend on
Right,
a
right.
shoe like this?
So I think what I do whenever I'm judging the market value of a sneakers, I click sell now on StockX and see what price the seller would get from StockX, and then I pretty much ballpark a value between the last sale and this last sell price, right? I the most I'll pay is definitely between that range, but more in favor of the seller because for me, like paying an extra $5-10 is worth it in the long run. If I think this is a $400 sneaker, I'm willing to pay $320, $325 now to get the sneaker because I know I can make more in the future, right? So that's also just a general rule of thumb as how I determine the true market value of a sneaker. For everybody, it's different, but I've talked to a lot of people about this and they kind of use the same metric, roughly the same metric. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about grade school sizing this episode. Yeezys, they don't have a grade school size, right? They go all the way from, the big men's sizes, and they go all the way down to 4, I believe, but it's all still qualified as men's, women's, unisex. So what I'm curious to know what sizes you are buying if you're willing to let go of that information. Like what sizes are you buying for the
Sure.
Zions at least?
Yeah, so as of right now, I'm looking to buy into sizes 5 to 5.5. Normally, I'm comfortable buying from 5 to 6.5. Um, and those are what people classify as base sizes, right? The reason I tone it down to 5 to 5.5 is because 5 to 5.5 at the moment is cheaper than the other space sizes. I think they're in the long run, they're going to face a market correction. I just think those two sizes in particular are undervalued at the moment. I think they would see the same amount of growth as sizes 6 to 6.5. So I would rather spend less to like I would rather spend like less upfront to get the same amount of return, right? Of course. So particularly those two sizes.
So in general, like your reasoning is that the base sizes are the ones that are going to reach a high price point in the future. And if they're all going to reach around the same price point roughly, then why not just invest in the one that's like, for some reason, this 5s and 5.5s are like, I don't know, $10-20 less than the other one. So why not just buy it and do it a little bit cheaper if they're going to reach the same price in the future?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting insight. It's really interesting because like the guys that we've had on so far, nothing wrong with like quick flipping and like all that stuff, but like nobody really does the long-term holds like you do. So it's really interesting getting to pick your brain a little bit.
And not nearly as big
Yeah.
either.
Concord Bread 11 lows. Those came out, I believe, the middle of June, the beginning of June.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. Mashing up two of the most classic Jordan 11 colorways and putting on a low top. The white upper with the black patent leather, the white midsole with a red outsole. Very Chicago Bulls, very classy in a new fashion. I bought into a few. They still have not really gone up very much. I sold all of them except for one, and I want to hold on to one, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts, hold, or it's not worth the time, or like what are you thinking?
Yeah, so in short, I wanted to specifically talk about this sneaker because I don't think it's worth the time. I think there's a lot of better opportunities out there. I mean, at the end of the day, just like you said, it's a mashup of two classic colorways, so I do see demand being there, but it's not nearly the amount of attention it's getting compared to Jordan ones and the 350s, right? In my eyes, I would classify this as a very safe investment. Um, you definitely won't expect these to skyrocket in values compared to like Jordan ones or Zions. But if you're looking to put your money just somewhere in something that will for sure hold its value, the worst case scenario, just get your money back. I see these being an alternative there. At the end of the day, it's a Jordan 11. Jordan 11s are classic. Just for reference, in terms of Jordans to invest in, I stick to Jordan 1s, 4s, and potentially 11s. 1s, 3s, and 4s, potentially 3s as well. It just really depends on the demand for the sneaker at the time. But 1s and 4s have proved to be the most popular silhouettes. So once again, you're looking to invest in shoes that will stand the test of time. I don't see the Concord Breads. Once again, I don't see it shooting up in value. But if you have the money and you want to buy into something that's super safe, this is an option for sure.
So would you say that Yeezys are more of a like if you said that the Jordan 11s will hold their value, it's a safe investment. So what does that mean for Yeezy?
Yeah, I would say Yeezys. I don't want to use the word riskier,
Oh
But
yeah, I
it's
was
a
gonna say riskier, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
yeah, no worries. It's a more volatile it's a more volatile investment. So what that means is Yeezys, they'll fluctuate in price on a wider range than something like the Concord bread. So 350s, from my past experiences, they can fluctuate anywhere from like $20 to $50, but in the long term they'll still be going up. So I think in investing, like, you have to be really patient. Just because you see the sneaker price dip $20 in a day doesn't mean you just let go of all your pairs, right? You have to have confidence in your investments and be really patient. And if you think it'll reach a certain price, once it reaches that price, that's when I let go all of my pairs. So I would say the 350s is a more volatile investment. I wouldn't say risky, but there's a lot more potential in 350s compared
Yeah.
to the Concord 11, the Red 11s. Yeah.
And then the last one that we want to talk about, the satin red Jordan ones. Those are scheduled to come out August 6th.
Going with a steak.
Yeah, so it's got like a snake skin. So it's like the back half is black and it's like a snake skin black, and then the front of it is like it's basically a Chicago. The leather, it looks like it's all leather in the front except for the black back half and the black swoosh that are like python skin kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of, these remind me heavily of what's it called? What's that guy? This sneaker surgeon, or what's his name? The shoe surgeon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He always does. He always does
Yeah.
stuff with snake, and then, but also like looking at this, it's like very bold colorway to put, like snake skin's a very bold pattern to put on a Jordan 1. I think something that I don't know, we're going to go into the resale, but something that why they're Jordan expanding with this. You know, they started with a tie dye and made it more of a woman's release, but they saw the success of that. I think there's gonna be a lot more colorways coming out that are gonna be like Jordan 1s that are like very like more like the Dunks, or like, you know, like SBs, like very like weird colorways, cool patterns, different collabs with, like, you know, a lot of unique companies. So I think these are kind of like an intro into, like, you know, the men's side of, you know, patterns and designs. So that's all I
Right.
said. These.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I was actually going to bring up the tie dyes as a comparison to this sneaker. Obviously colorway wise, it's not very similar. But the tie dyes was something that I was really interested in looking at because it's a very out there shoe, right? Like, it's not necessarily a very wearable shoe, but there's a lot of demand for it and it's pretty limited. So seeing how the tie dyes are slowly rebounding, and a lot of people I know are investing in them, I don't see why it's not the same, you know, case with these satin reds. Snakeskin, that initially threw me off, because it's a very bold thing to do on a pair of sneakers. But if the price is right, I would see these as a buy-in. But at the end of the day, it always comes down to what the initial resale price is, and am I willing to pay for that, based on what I think the future potential is.
So what do you think the future potential would be? Let's just say if like stock numbers are similar to like the tie dyes. I'm not
Right.
even sure where the stock numbers are, but what would you see these hitting at what point?
Right. So tie dyes, remind me again, in bigger sizes like 11.5W. What are they at? Like 300 plus, I think.
I've seen them at like 330, 350, but I haven't checked on them in the past week, but I'm sure they're still around there.
330, 350, right? Yeah. Okay. So, honestly, it all comes down to how difficult it is to get this sneaker. I remember the tie dyes flew instantly. So that contributed to the initial high resale price and the resale price that they are currently at. But since they've rebounded, I can see these performing around the same numbers. Let's say everything else wise, like the release process is the same amount of people get them, the same stock numbers. I can see these satin reds fetching pretty high resale prices, $300 plus, in the larger sizes. And just in case you guys were wondering, the larger sizes, why they're worth more is because that's the sizes that men wear, right? So the men are still willing to purchase women's sneakers, but they would just size up. So that's why the larger sizes are worth more. So yeah, I would see that these fetching $300 plus, they have potential to reach $400, even more, just because it's a black, red, and white colorway, and you know that's a really hot. That's probably the most popular colorway right now, bread. So yeah.
Sorry, I was saying I didn't realize they were women's till right now, which kind of annoys me more, but it's whatever. Cause I can't wear women's. I'm size 12, so cuts off right there, and I could squeeze into 11s. My shattered backboard 2.0s are 11s. I squeeze into them, untie them, take the insole out and whatnot.
Right.
Do whatever I can, but these I don't know. 11 women's probably is gonna be tighter than 11 men's. So that's a bummer to hear. I'm sure.
So these are releasing on August 6th, and then the day after, August 7th, are the Jordan 1 High Japan or like Tokyo or something. This is what I think is interesting. The satin reds look like a more wearable shoe for a male, and the Japan seem like more of a women's shoe. Like they have more resemblance to a lot of women's shoe that have come out in the past. But I think it's interesting because the Japans, they're like an all around like gray metallic silver, but they're classified as a men's shoe. They're gonna come out in men's sizing.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm interested to hear what Max's thoughts on these are, given that the colorway is just so unique.
Yeah. So number one, I heard stock numbers are super low. So you can expect pretty high resale prices for these, definitely more than the satins, the snakeskin ones, as well as the tie-dye colorway. In my opinion, I think this is a very, very wearable sneaker. It's a very neutral gray. You can match this with any outfit. Um, I see this being super popular amongst Instagram, YouTube influencers. Um, so I think the metallic silver, yes, it could be a little bit feminine, but just like you said, it's classified as a men's sneaker. So a lot of people will be going after these. So if I were to give a ballpark price range, I would say you're looking at about like $500-$600, $700 even. It's just really hard to say just because I don't know the exact stock numbers. I just heard they're super low, and I don't really know how the release method is going to be, whether it's going to be like raffles or sneakers or like a draw, etc. Because that always affects the price, resale price of a sneaker. But these will definitely be more expensive than the other two we mentioned earlier.
Interesting.
I was gonna say, it's for me personally looking at them, I was thinking these are kind of hard to rock, just because it's like shiny silver, and I don't personally, it's not my style.
Right.
But I think for a lot of boys and men our age, shiny silver might be hard to rock unless you're like, like you said. I think it's better for influencers and people who may like a little flashy. And I think it would be a shoe they would make limited on purpose because, like you see that show, like, oh man, like those are the Tokyo ones. Like it makes it more a hype to them because if these were, like a release as general, I think as Royals, I don't think they would resell much. So making them as a limited release because there's I think a limited amount of people who actually would personally that would actually wear these. Was a smart move by Jordan.
I love metallic silver. I love metallic gold, but it's just like Manif said, it's hard to rock, and it's because like the whole thing has this. It's like it's weird because it's like a neutral.
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing is like a neutral gray, but like parts of it are just shiny, and it just like
the neutral gray is cool color.
About it. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Like I'm getting a lot of like I don't like it vibes. I'm also getting like this thing is sick. So, to me, it's just a very interesting one. I really like how the satin reds look. Even that snakeskin, but I do think that snakeskin, like you said, it's kind of bold to do on a shoe, but I do like how they executed this one. I believe that's all we're going to have time for. I want to thank Max for coming on this podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Max, if you want to plug your Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. So my personal Instagram is max.shiau, SHIAU. My Hypervisor Instagram is at the Hypervisor. You can check us out, give us a follow. We'll be consistently updating and providing investment advice here and there. So if you guys want to get into investing, you should give us a follow. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be launching a batch on August 1st. We're super excited. We feel like we are at a point where we can make pretty confident decisions about what investments to put our money into, to put your money into. And we are expecting to outperform the numbers that we got last time, which is really exciting. We have a ton of new features as well. So make sure to check out our website on August 1st. One last thing I wanted to talk about is our newly implemented referral system. So for this specific batch, basically if you end up investing and you refer somebody else who ends up investing as well, you will get a discount in your fee. Make sure to go out and tell all your friends about this upcoming batch. We're super excited, and yeah, thanks for having me, Mateo.
I'll refer Mini. But yeah, I'm sure Max, being a long-term investor, we definitely have a lot of quick flippers and the more millennial type of resellers listening to this podcast. And I'm sure if you have a good price and you're looking for a buyer, Max is looking for a good price, is looking for a seller. So we heard what he's investing in right now. if you want to start getting some quick cash in your pocket, help Max out. If you want to start taking his advice and investing into some of the new releases based on what we have to say, I would also advise the same thing that Matt says when he's giving some of his advice on his channel, is to do your own due diligence as well, do your own research with a grain of salt. Take what we have as another resource, another piece of advice, and make sure that you guys are, just like Max said, you guys are feeling confident what you guys are investing in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I also wanted to reiterate that like nothing that I said today should be taken as pure investment advice. You guys should always do your own research, be confident in what you're investing in. Use what my advice is as a second voice. Everything I said today is based purely on speculation and my own research. But you know, times can change. The sneaker market is super dynamic. News can pop up every single day that can affect the resale price of a sneaker, right? So if you guys do want to get into the game, I'm sure there's a lot of resellers listening to this podcast right now who maybe don't have the time to be reselling sneakers like Mateo does, you know, quick flipping. But I think investing in sneakers is a huge, a really big alternative that doesn't take as much time and you're making money passively, right? Investing as a whole is just an amazing concept. So if you don't want to do the work, you can have me do the work for you. And that's why investing in this batch, right? So, yeah.
One thing that I would like to heavily suggest is that if you are going to invest and you are going to hold, keep in mind that that money that you're spending, that investment is going to be out of your pocket all of the months that you are going to be sitting on it. So I would not advise, just like Mason has said before, I would not advise that you hold if that's all the money that you have and you don't have like another source of income. Like I said in the beginning of this podcast, I'm trying to dabble in the long-term hold because I don't want to put in all my money into the long-term holds and sit for 6 months and not have like any money left to spend on like whatever necessities, like fun stuff, like going out and getting food, or you know, paying your car payments, paying your rent. You want to make sure that you do have a steady source of income while you are holding, which is why I'm trying to do like a couple holds and quick flip to make some income and make sure that I'm staying on top of things on the side. So just want to put that out there. So yeah, that's pretty much all we're going to have time for today. Again, thank you to Max. Thank you to Manib. Thank you to Matt. Signing off, I'm Mateo.
I'm Anib.
I'm Max.
We will catch you guys in the next one.